welcome back to the channel. Thank you all so much for tuning in today. And today we're going to be having a little bit of a chaotic energy to this video just because I have so many different Starbucks pods that I've yet to review with y'all that have been sitting in my home. And I keep saying that I'm going to review them as part of my series, either individually or as a group like we are today. But I've just decided, because I've had these for a while and I have no sign of getting any more of the original line pods. I think there's a couple more Lungos on their market for original line, but they have yet to show up in my home. So I think I'm just gonna tag team, this onto all of the other pods that I have today and just review all of them for y'all because of course I want to share this experience with y'all. So I think today we're gonna be starting off, because it is a holiday season, we'll start off tasting the Starbucks Holiday Blend. But before we get into tasting them, let's go into their profiles. So this one, the Starbucks Holiday Blend, is supposed to have notes of sweet maple and herbal notes. It's supposed to be a medium intensity between 7 and 9, specifically 8. And it's supposed to celebrate the joy of the season, blend of Latin American and smooth Indonesian coffees, which probably explains why I've liked it so much. I love the holiday blend when I go and pick it up at the actual Starbucks. We'll see how much this compares. But it's supposed to be complex enough to satisfy your coffee cravings throughout the season, yet approachable enough to share with a crowd, apparently. So this kind of makes me think that it's not going to be like spicy or anything to the point that you basically have to commit to making a holiday drink. That is what I get off the bat with it. But that's going to be promising. It does sound intense, which I'm kind of in the mood for right now, so I'm up for it. And then the next pod we have is the smooth caramel pod. I would have tag teamed this onto the other video with the vanilla Virtual pod that they released, but I could not find it in the store until a few weeks ago after I filmed that video. So I say we tag it on today. It's very similar to the caramel in the original line, which came out with this whole series. It's supposed to have a buttery caramel and vanilla notes to the coffee, and intensity 5. Of course, both of these pods are 8-ounce pods about, so a full cup of coffee. And then it's supposed to have caramel notes with a buttery richness, and it's made to enjoy with milk for kind of a creamy, flavorful moment. So it is blonde roasted as well. So a lot of promise for this. I just kind of feel like whenever we make flavored coffees, especially in third-party lines, they tend to be like not up to par with what how delicious I think they're going to taste anyway. So this will be a journey. And then the last one it's probably the one I'm least excited for, but we'll give it a try, okay? And it is supposed to be the House Blend Lungo, and it is an intensity 8, so fairly intense. It's supposed to be made as a lungo, and it's supposed to have Latin American beans, dark chestnut color to the beans, and it's supposed to have tasting notes of nut and cocoa, kind of sweet. So we'll see. I mean, this on paper, this all sounds like what I would regularly enjoy, but y'all already know, I can't help but thinking this is gonna taste like dirt. So let's give it a try, starting with the Starbucks Holiday Blend. I'm sure you guys also see the lights in the background, but I did decorate my coffee bar this year, and I would have done a decorate with me, but let's be real. It would have just been a 10-minute video of me struggling with the lights back there, and then you guys watching TJ put it up, and on it, other than the lights, there really wasn't much that went into it, so it's always nice to appreciate the after product for y'all, okay? So we'll leave it at that. But I did brew the Holiday Blend pod, and the pod, of course, is super holiday-y with red and a little green dot on it. And in terms of the smell or the aromatics, I will say, like, while it was brewing, it reminded me of every time as like a child, my mom making coffee or something like that. It has a very stereotypical coffee brewing smell, not super spicy or sweet or, like weird smelling like many of the other pods we reviewed on this channel do. But it is really nice, kind of inviting. Nice. It smells a little bit bold too, which is, again, nice. And I think it'll stand up really well to ice just based on smell. But let's give it a taste. Wow. Yeah, this pod is very, very nice and bold, which I got kind of from the smell of it as well as the intensity. But to be fair, I feel like in the first couple of videos where I tried some of the Starbucks Virtual pods and their intensities were also fairly high, like above a 7, I feel like they didn't bring the same oomph that this pod does. I feel like this pod is very bold, but also very pleasant. Like, it's not to the point where it's so dark that I can't stand the taste of it without any like syrup or cream or milk. But it also is bold enough where it would stand up very, very well to an iced beverage around the holiday season time, which I think is just so appropriate for right now because I know where I'm at. It's cold, but I still really enjoy my iced beverages. So this would be perfect. And it's also extremely flexible. It's bold, but again, not super acidic and not super complex to the point that it feels like you're needing to pair it with specific syrups. This is a very flexible pod, and honestly something that I feel like you can enjoy all holiday season. And I do get some similarities with this pod versus like the actual holiday blend at Starbucks. So I'm overall very pleased with this pod. And I think this is probably one of my more favorite pods in the Vertua line from Starbucks so far, which is very impressive. So yeah, I think I'm gonna rate this a solid 8.5 out of 10. I really like it. I could see myself purchasing this pod again. Again, we did go into the pricing of a lot of these pods in the very beginning of this series, where I feel like maybe it's not necessarily worth it. I feel like if you wanted to get a pod that's very similar, you might even be able to get away with things like Stormio in the Nespresso actual like line versus like a third-party line that might cost you even more than getting one of the basic pods at Nespresso. So if you wanted something similar, I think Stormio is probably your best bet. But otherwise, if you're just at the grocery store and you don't feel like going to your nearest Nespresso store or feel like ordering pods, I think this is probably your closest. And I wish it was available all year long, not just the holiday season, but that's just me. So yeah, solid 8.5 out of 10. I say we give the caramel pod a try. Okay, it's caramel time, y'all. So the pod itself kind of just looks like the vanilla one, where it's like a little bit more orange than the vanilla pod, but it has that little caramel stripe on it, little swivel thing. Other than that, it looks very similar to the other pods we've tried. As for the aromatics, I feel like the vanilla pod from the third-party Starbucks line was a little bit more aromatic and sweet smelling, but this one definitely has some sweetness to it. It just smells kind of like you're cooking sugar, like burnt sugar, very much on par with caramel. So let's give it a try. So much like the vanilla pod, I think it kind of tastes sweet in the beginning, but as it's going down, I really don't taste much. There's not a lot of flavor to it. It is a little bit bold, very roasty, which is kind of surprising considering they, label it as blonde roast. So I didn't expect to have that roastiness there, but I do think it would hold up decently well in an iced coffee. Do I think you need to spend the same amount of money that this pod costs to get that effect? Absolutely not. I think you could probably get a fairly good medium to light roasted pod from Nespresso for a little bit cheaper and still very much have the same effect. I think the golden caramel in the Nespresso line is probably going to be very, very adequate to what this tastes like. Again, it might even be a little bit more caramelly from the golden caramel. So if we're comparing it to Nespresso, I think that I would probably go with the Nespresso pod versus this third-party line, which might differ for the holiday blend like I was talking about. And so with that being said, I think that I would probably rate this a 5 out of 10. I'm not super impressed with it. I think it's actually very plain. There's not a lot of complexity, like I said, just a whole lot of roastiness. And I don't think it tastes like what they say it does. And I think I could probably spend less on it. So that's my opinion, but let me know yours. So yeah, solid 5 out of 10. So with both those pods out of the way, I say we get into our only original line pod for today and see if those coffee and toffee notes are what they say they are. Y'all, this cue is actually kind of cute. Not too light, definitely kind of inviting. Looks like a real cup of coffee, not just watered down dirt. So I'm excited for it. In terms of this pod, I also like the hue of the brown. It kind of reminds me of Cozy in the original line. Super, super cute. So, I mean, I'm all for it. The smell is slightly sweet. It definitely smells different than the holiday blend in that it smells a little bit bold, but it also smells, again, a little bit sweet. It might be the toffee notes, but it smells like, it doesn't smell too cocoa-y, like too rich or, you know what I mean? Like not too like, kind of bitter smelling. It's nice. It's subtly sweet. So I'm excited. Let's get into it. Y'all, dare I say it, I actually like this. I know, shocker. I'm not a lungo gal at all, but I actually really like this. It's like, it's nice. It's you know, complex. It's balanced. It's a little bit bitter though, but has some sweetness, has some bitterness, a little bit of roastiness there. Not too acidic. Definitely holds up in an iced coffee for sure. Like that is a nice bold cup. It is not. It's not watered down. It doesn't taste like dirt, which is very surprising. Dare I say it, I don't think I've ever rated a lungo like this before, but I'm gonna give it a solid 8 out of 10. And I think that's the highest I've rated a lungo in a while. Okay, like that's very impressive. Never thought I'd see the day, y'all. So I mean, give me your guys' opinion on the house lungo. I didn't think I would like this at all. I'm gonna be honest. I saw it in the store and I was like, this is probably gonna be a big disappointment. But they proved me wrong. Starbucks, I'm so sorry. Not me coming for your brand, but I actually like it. So take that as you will. I do think, again, would stand up really well in an iced coffee. As I'm drinking this, it doesn't feel like I'm not drinking a regular 8-ounce cup of coffee from Nespresso. When I, like, taste it, it tastes like an 8-ounce cup of coffee that they brewed in a Vertuoline pod. So again, and I feel like that's part of the reason that they created the lungo setting and the lungo pods in the original line, so that, you know, people with only the original line machine can kind of get that feel for an 8-ounce pod. This is what I envision lungos would usually taste like, aside from maybe some of the flavored ones. I kind of liked, you know, at least the hazelnut flavored one that they just released for Nespresso, but usually I'm not a super big fan of lungos just because, again, they are super watered down espresso sort of. So I'm actually really, really surprised with this. I like it. I can't complain. I would probably buy this again if I just saw it in the store and it was for a reasonable price. I think it's like $10 for that. So a little bit more expensive, I think, than what I would usually pay for at Nespresso, but for a regular plain everyday lungo, I think it's good. That's my review. Let me know how y'all think, but 8 out of 10. Who would have thunk? Okay, so that is all I have for y'all today. Thank you so much for staying with me through this chaotic video of trying all the rest of the Starbucks pods that I've yet to get to in my home. And I'm honestly really surprised. I'm glad that I ended up liking the holiday blend and the house blend, only because, you know, again, I didn't expect to like it, but that's why I do these tasting videos, because y'all keep me on my toes, okay? So for the next video, I think that we're gonna be going into a little bit more about what a coffee lover would like for the holidays, myself included. So maybe we'll go through my wish list, have a cup of coffee, go through it, and then I'm going to give you some recommendations for what I think hopefully a coffee lover in your life, maybe even you, would like for the holidays. So I'm excited to get into it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I will see you on the flip side. Bye.